So today what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the history of permaculture. It was invented by Bill Mollison. He's considered to be the father of permaculture. He's very old right now. He used to be the professor at the university in Australia, and he developed an integrated system of design. But he did it with his student David Holmgren. So often you'll hear David Holmgren and Bill Mollison together. Bill Mollison was a professor and David was his student. So they came up with a design. It wasn't just about agriculture, it wasn't just about ecology, but they included economic systems, land access strategies, legal systems, and businesses, all in the same design story. I found some of his words and I just want to read them because I think it's pretty funny. Anyway, here you go. I've never met him, so you'll have to see if I'm sure I don't do him justice anyway. Okay. I'd come into town from the bush after 28 years of fieldwork in natural systems and turned my attention to humans, much as I had to when I was studying animals in the forests. Humans were my study animal now. I set up night watches on them and I made phonographs of the noises they make. I studied their cries and their contact calls and their alarm signals. I never listened to what they were saying. I watched what they were doing, which is really the exact opposite of how Freud and Jung go about observing humans. I soon got to know my animal fairly well, and I found out that it didn't matter what they were saying. What they were doing was very interesting, but it had no relation whatsoever to what they were saying or what questions they could answer about what they were doing. No relationship at all. Anyone who ever studied mankind by listening to them was self-deluded. The first thing they should have done was to answer the question, can they even report their own behavior? The answer is no, they can't. So I sort of pulled out for a while. I gave up. In 1972, I went to the bush and built a farm and a house, planted a garden. I gave up on humanity altogether. I was just disgusted with the stupidity of the university and the research institutes, the whole thing. When the idea of permaculture came to me, it was like a shift in the brain, and suddenly I couldn't write it down fast enough. Once you've said to yourself, but I'm not using my own ideas in my own garden, it flashed. I had never applied what I was doing in my garden. It was like something physical moves inside your brain. Suddenly you say, if I did apply what I know how I live, that would be miraculous. Then the whole thing unrolls like one great carpet. Undo one knot and the whole thing just rolls downhill. For instance, I remember writing in a diary many years ago that we should be able to construct environments. I was thinking about the whole business of energy and of my opposition as a conservationist to strip mining, to deforestation and other forms of earth exploitation. And I concluded that it was time to devise a better way. But no one at that time ever thought of taking such a relationship and consciously applying it, making it part of a design. The idea was a real mind twist, something that caused an almost physical change within my brain. Why is it that we don't build human settlements that will feed themselves and fuel themselves and catch their own water when any human settlement could do that easily? In 1978, Mollison founded the Permaculture Institute of Tasmania. And in 1986, I think it was, he had his first design course in his house. He decided that it was such a failure he'd never do it again. Of course, that isn't true. We all know that the permaculture movement has spread like wildfire. Well, I don't know wildfire, 78 to now, but it's spread all around the world. And it's quite prolific in other parts of the world. The United States, it's growing, and in Alaska, it's new. So things are happening. The very curious thing about how things emerge on our planet is that sometimes simultaneously things happen. And in Japan, a guy named Fukuoka was also doing these sorts of experiments and things, and he also created a very similar design system to permaculture. You can read his book. It's called One Straw Revolution. It's very good. And then there was Sepp Holzer in Austria, and he created his own system about the same time too. And he, however, has said he doesn't want to call it permaculture because now people are coming to him and saying, well, if you were doing permaculture, you'd do it this way. So he's kind of pulling back from the permaculture movement. He likes the word, but he thinks he's doing something a little bit different than everybody else is, which is good, I think. Adds to diversity. So there's a structure to this whole thing as well. Once you're a permaculturalist, you get a design certificate. And that gives you the ability to design things. I'll talk about that later. But then you're a member of a guild, which is a local organization. And guilds, you know, they have various abilities, so they help each other out. So I belong to the Anchorage Guild, and there's an Alaska Ning site, but there's not an Alaska some sort of a structure yet, but we do have a Ning site going on for the state of Alaska. So from the guild, you go to a bigger structure, and Alaska, like I said, doesn't have one. Some people think we should belong to the Cascadia because we're still kind of in the Cascadia down here, part of Anchorage, but that kind of leaves the rest of the state hanging. So we haven't really decided what we want to do yet. Then as it goes to those regional groups, there's the Midwest Permaculture, and there's the Northwest, I believe. There's the East Coast. I'm not even familiar with all of those. And then there's Cascadia, like I said. And then that goes to a national organization. And right now the national organization is having some issues. They're thinking maybe they want to have an international, like a North American organization, so we could include Canada, especially those folks in Victoria, Vancouver. They're doing amazing things down there. So that would be the Permaculture Institute of North America, and that's being unfolded as we speak. Then every other year there's an international permaculture convergence, and every other year people meet from all over the planet to go to one country, and usually it's not a developed country. It's some place where people can travel to easily. I don't know about this country, but anyway, I'm excited. It's going to be in Cuba. I'm not sure if I can go, but that would be sure fun to go to Cuba for the International Permaculture Convergence. That's coming up this summer, I think in November, actually. So if you want to go, we have to get a group together and say that we're coming for permaculture so that we are invited. But I think that would be pretty cool. So now you kind of have the whole history of permaculture in a small little nutshell. There's lots and lots more stories to tell. Everybody has stories, and I'm sure I'll share a lot of those with you during the course. But if you want to know more, you can always ask for more or Google it or anything. I have books and books about this. So satisfy your curiosity, and if I can answer any questions for you, I will be glad to do that too. So there you have it, in a nutshell, the history of permaculture.